Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Should You Play, where I show you some spoiler-free gameplay and give you my thoughts after playing new games for a few hours, while also highlighting and checking out at least one of the PlayStation Plus games for each month. In this video I'm playing one of the June 2025 PlayStation Plus games, Alone in the Dark, the 2024 reimagining of the 1992 survival horror cult classic. I'm not the world's biggest horror fan, but I love mystery novels, and I love Lovecraft-inspired stories even more, so out of the 3 PlayStation Plus games announced for June 2025, this was the one that I was most excited for, even knowing that most adaptations of the genre tend to fall flat. Alone in the Dark puts in some really solid effort though, even if it misses the mark on some important elements, so let's just talk about it.
Come on, let's go.
Alone in the Dark takes place in 1930s Louisiana, and you play as either Edward or Emily as they investigate the mysterious disappearance of Emily's uncle at Derceto Mansion, a home for the mentally fatigued. The game tells its story over the course of 5 chapters, and while it does start as a simple missing persons investigation, it quickly becomes a treacherous journey where you'll deal with monsters, alternate realities, and existential dread, all leading to something much more sinister.
What the hell is going on?
Even though Alone in the Dark is marketed as a survival horror game, I'd personally say it leans more toward investigative puzzle solving, with some horror elements mixed in. Sure, there are monsters to avoid and kill, and weapons and resources to manage, but the core of the game is about finding clues and solving puzzles, with your survival being more of a backdrop than the main event. After the opening cutscene finishes, you choose between either Edward or Emily as your protagonist, and that decision will shape your playthrough. There's no swapping between them mid-game, and each character has dialogue and cutscenes that are unique to them. It's not a dramatic difference, but it does offer some built-in replay value if you're curious about both sides of the story. Exploration is front and center though, and the game absolutely rewards thoroughness. There's a heavy focus on lore and collectibles, and they're not just filler content either, as many of them contain important information like vault codes, puzzle hints, or the location of plot-relevant items.
Let's look around. See if we can pick up any clues.
At first, it might seem like you need to do a ton of reading just to get the basics, but the game does a good job at highlighting the important bits if you're not too interested in all of the deeper background details. As for the puzzles, they're fairly varied and never too frustrating to solve. You'll find yourself rearranging patterns, interpreting cryptic clues, and unlocking secret areas as you continue searching the mansion. A few of them might seem slightly repetitive or even boring to solve, but they're usually short enough to keep the momentum of the plot going, and there's a good balance between challenge and brevity. Combat, on the other hand, is where Alone in the Dark starts to falter a bit.
What do you make of it?
Most of the combat encounters were really sluggish and underwhelming, making it feel more like a secondary feature than a central part of the experience. The monster designs are creepy for sure, but they never felt especially dangerous unless they attacked in massive groups, which rarely ever happened, and it often undercut the tension that you'd expect from a game like this.
I'd rather not talk about it. It makes me upset.
Stealth is technically an option, and the game will often remind you of that, but I rarely found a reason to bother with it since the enemies weren't aggressive or intelligent enough to make sneaking necessary. Resource management didn't add much attention either, because as long as you're regularly checking drawers and boxes for clues, which you'll definitely be doing for the plot anyway, you'll likely never find yourself out of ammo or healing items, which means you can breeze right through most encounters.
Now we're talking.
When it comes to the horror elements, Alone in the Dark nails the atmosphere, story, and tone, even if the gameplay doesn't quite reach the same heights. The lighting, the sound design, the subtle environmental storytelling, the creatures, and especially the shifting between realities are exactly what I want from a Lovecraft-inspired story. There's a mix of cult-based, psychological, and supernatural horror elements, and visually, the game nails a lot of the genre's components. Bugs crawling on the walls, eyes peering out of dark corners, ambient music, and other creepy elements all come together in a really satisfying way here. One thing I often criticize in horror media is the use of jump scares in place of actual scary or creepy elements, and Alone in the Dark only has a few throughout the game, which I really appreciate. Unfortunately though, it all comes back to the gameplay never really feeling all that dangerous or tense, and since you'll rarely run out of resources and probably won't die unless you get swarmed, the life or death stakes of the game can start to feel more like a standard shooter than a true survival horror experience.
But I'd be lying if I said it didn't bother me.
As for everything else Alone in the Dark has to offer, the game consistently looks and sounds good, sometimes even great. Nearly every environment in the game, especially within Derceto Mansion, has a distinct and individualized look, and the level design shows a clear attention to detail. Lighting looks great across the board, whether you're in a bright room or a pitch-black hallway, and the soundtrack fits both the noir and horror vibes really well. Character models are mostly solid, but up close, some faces, hairstyles, and especially facial hair can look a bit last-gen. The voice acting is a bit inconsistent as well. David Harbour and Jodie Comer, who voiced the 2 lead characters, are great actors who have both proven their talents many times, but their characters can often feel low energy or even bored outside of pivotal scenes.
I knew it. I knew it would work.
On the performance side though, everything runs really smoothly. On PS5, I didn't encounter any frame drops, load delays, or crashes, things that were all reported when the game launched in 2024. There was some really minor stuff here and there, like a weird hand glitch, an instance of interaction snapping, and some fun ragdoll physics on the monsters, but nothing that would ruin the gameplay or story experience by any means. Alone in the Dark is just okay, and it's kind of a bummer because I was really hoping it would be more than that.
I'm sure you understand.
It has all of the ingredients that can make for a fantastic horror experience. Good writing, a great setting, and strong lead performances, but the gameplay never quite hit its mark for me. Combat is underwhelming, the puzzles are decent but forgettable, and the survival horror elements just don't deliver on the tension that the atmosphere promises. That said, it's still better than a lot of the other survival horror games I've finished, and there's a decent amount of replay value if you want to go back and play as the second character, or dig into all the collectibles and lore.
Don't mind if I do.
So if you're into slow burn horror mysteries and don't mind some weaker gameplay elements, Alone in the Dark might just be worth your time.
Welcome to the Madhouse, Detective.
As always though, this is just my opinion. Whether you've just arrived at Dorsetto Mansion, or you've already started unraveling the mystery around it, let me know in the comments what you think of Alone in the Dark.
Hope to see you again soon.
Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Ah!